Hello and welcome. I'm Chloe Thomas, the host of this e-commerce marketing focused podcast. If you're not familiar with the Keep Optimizing format, well, every 5 episodes, we switch our focus to a different marketing method. It could be email, it could be SEO, it could be Facebook ads, and we pick up the thread from the last time we covered it. And in each of those 5 episodes, we release a new one every Wednesday. I interview a different expert to explore the latest advice on making that marketing method work for you. So when it all goes well, which it almost always does, across each of the 5 episodes, you'll get a completely different take on how to make that marketing channel perform for you. In this episode, we are continuing to dive into the latest email and SMS marketing insights. This time, we're delving into a topic we're all talking about, but not that many brands are actually delivering on, which is building real customer loyalty. My guest is an expert in doing just that. Her and her team do it for multiple e-commerce brands very successfully, and she'll be sharing tips around building loyalty by asking your customers questions so you can better personalize your communications. She'll be sharing tips on how by engaging customers, you can improve their loyalty to you. We'll be talking about click data. We'll be talking about surveys. We'll be talking about quizzes, all sorts of stuff coming up in this. In a very, it doesn't matter how big or small your brand is, you can implement most of what we're talking about in this session. She's also got some great top tips and some great offers at the end to help you get things fast tracked and improve very quickly. So make sure you listen to the end of the episode. And you'll also get my take on it at the end as well. In this episode, I'm chatting with email and SMS expert Anna Frapwell. Anna is the founder of marketing agency Neon Digital Clicks, who specialise in helping kids, baby and women's brands to sell more and achieve explosive growth. Hello, Anna.
Hi there.
Very, very cool to have you on the show. So thank you for being here. How did you get into the world of email and SMS?
So it's been one of those long marketing kind of roads to where we finally ended up. And I think I always start these conversations and I think, oh my goodness, I'm really that old. So it's like 25 years ago, I started out in marketing and worked predominantly in-house for a number of years, started at Revlon Cosmetics actually, and then moved to McCann Erickson where I was an account director there, and then back in-house to Bravissimo Lingerie. And over that time, I've worked across lots of different marketing areas, lots of PR, and it's, you kind of look back and you think, it's amazing how the whole landscape has changed so much during that time. But I think one of the places where I really kind of lent into what we're going to be talking about today in more detail is at Bravissimo, where it was quite a unique, at the time, it was a really unique brand in that, they were speaking on such a deeper level to their customers than anywhere else I'd ever experienced. And this was kind of predated the likes of Facebook and things like that, where you couldn't have that level of conversation. And everyone in the head office was expected to understand how to bra fit people face to face, how to fit people over the phone. If customer service was really busy, then the phone lines would trip down to the rest of the head office and you'd get a special ring on your phone you'd have to answer. Now, the beauty of that as a marketer was we were having that direct one-on-one conversation with a customer. We weren't just learning about kind of what we thought were barriers to purchase, but actually what were those genuine barriers to purchase? How are the customers speaking? How are they communicating? What words are they using? What language are they using? What's making them fearful and what's making them excited? And that kind of level of knowledge is something that we kind of strive to achieve in all that we do today, through other means. But, it's just such a powerful resource to have at your fingertips.
I remember being early in my marketing career when you were at Bravissimo, and it was definitely one of those brands at the time that I remember watching and going, how do they manage to do, they do this? And because it was mail order and I was working mail order at the time. And when you say about what was happening behind the scenes, if I look back and kind of retrofit, if that makes sense, that knowledge. I was going to say, it makes total sense. The only way it could have been that strong was if the connection to the customer was so huge, but so far ahead of its time as a business doing that, because it's everyone seems to be talking about now. But
absolutely. And like, I remember us launching their Facebook page. I remember being the person that launched a Facebook page and thinking, oh, what is this? Let's give it a go. Let's play with this. Not even knowing at that point, just how big it was going to be for me in my career, but also how big it was going to be for brands, and how massive that was then to become. So it's been a great journey, really.
So you're here to help us all understand how to drive proper loyalty. Is driving proper loyalty possible without a deep understanding of the customer? Is it worth doing anything on loyalty if you don't have that level of connection to the customer and understanding of them?
Personally, I don't think it is. I think that you have to, in order for there to be a level of authenticity and for it to be a loyalty program that people engage with, take up, utilize, I think you have to have something in place that's come from a point of actually understanding your customer at a deeper level. And if you don't have that understanding of what value means to them and what they want from your brand, then you're kind of you're paying lip service to that kind of activity, and it's just not going to stick. And it's not going to make your customers sticky either. They'll jump around, shop around, and that's not what that's about. That's about creating retention.
I guess it's one of those areas of marketing where looking at other people's playbooks is definitely not copy and paste, is it? It's like their inspiration, not how-tos.
Yes, exactly that. And I think it becomes very obvious very quickly if you don't understand your customer.
Yeah, so true. So how do we go about, what's Anna's quick fire way of getting to know your customer, if such a thing exists, in order to start building loyalty into more of the marketing?
Yeah, I think, my dad's a salesman, and he's always said to me from very young age, you've got 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. And I just think that is just so true. I mean, I hear myself saying it to my own kids, but it's just so important that you kind of listen and hear and absorb as much as you possibly can. And I think, we're so lucky to be able to utilize, like in our agency, we utilize Klaviyo for this. So we will utilize Klaviyo to really listen to what our customers are saying and what that audience wants. And we do that in lots of different ways by gathering kind of more deeper data at point of gathering an email address. So it's not just about, emails. I think someone parting with their email address is something that needs to be treated with respect, and you have to kind of go, okay, thank you, you've given me that, so I want to make this experience really great for you. So if you can really understand that customer at that point of receiving an email address, so whether it's just that you ask an additional question about who they buy for, why they're buying, why they're here, so that you can really start to tailor and personalize that approach. And then we also utilize, we kind of go back to the Just 17 days of magazines, where we'll utilize, remember those quizzes? Oh my God. Yeah, we do some of that in emails, and it works so well. We do a this or that quiz, or what type of child have you got? Are they a performer? Are they a this? And this is the right products or toys for them. And it leverages quite a lot of kind of useful information for us, because we can track where people are clicking, what they're clicking on, what's most popular, but it also improves the engagement of a campaign as well, which therefore then feeds back into the deliverability, and it optimizes the whole kind of mix as well. And it also can feed into work that we do on other platforms. We can learn so much from the work that we're doing on one platform and just spread it out amongst the other platforms we're supporting on.
So one of those campaigns, like a which sort of child is your child type thing, is that, does that come with 2 weeks worth of research and planning, as in what we need to know and what we think will generate impact and how we're going to use that afterwards? Or is it kind of like we ought to ask them a question this week. What are we going to ask them? And then see what comes out of it afterwards. I guess which comes first, the question or the strategy?
I think it's a mix of both. And I think that it's about kind of, sometimes we'll just have, I'm a big advocate of play in what we do as a business, the customers, the clients that we serve. And I just kind of, someone in the team might come up with an idea. If it kind of has legs and I think that it's something that could work, we'll go like, let's give it a crack. Let's have a go. So sometimes those are very much, we've had an idea, let's do this. But other times, like we're working with one of our clients is launching a new element of their subscription box service. So it's a whole new customer audience, but so that will be more thoroughly planned out in terms of understanding how to approach that launch, utilizing information from previous customers or existing customers, and engaged customers, so that we can take that intel. But also all the time it's adding, it's enhancing the work that we're doing on the platform on Klaviyo, because it's breeding this engagement and this kind of constant, deeper connection there as well.
So it gives on two levels, doesn't it? It gives you more data for better future marketing, and in and of itself, it engages with the customer because they literally get to engage with what you're doing. Yeah. Now, you are working in a fun sector, a fun vertical.
I think so,
should be fun anyway, with kids, babies and women's brands. Do you think that makes it easier for you to gamify the marketing, to drive that loyalty learning and to drive that greater engagement? Or do you think it's possible for everybody?
I think it's possible for everybody. I think, I saw a meme the other day, and I think it was someone saying something about, I've just bought, I can't remember the exact details of it, but they were basically tearing down email and saying, I've just bought these jeans and also signed myself up to a daily email for the rest of my life. And it was this whole kind of, it's not just jeans I'm buying, I'm also kind of committing to being spammed by emails. And I think that there is this negative connotation around email across every sector. And I think the value in email is when you personalize it, when you get it right, when it is engaging, where you take the dryness out of it. And I think that can be done everywhere. I don't think that is unique to the playful sector that we're in.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. But it's always, the grass is always greener, isn't it? It's like you could say, well, I have to totally understand how that brand could do it, how this brand could do it. How often do you weave that into the email campaigns? Is it something you primarily do in newsletters? Is it something that primarily happens in sequences? Is it something which you're trying to weave into every single email, or is it kind of like actually you can overdo it and you need to chill it?
I think you can overdo it. We don't try to do it too much, and we again make sure that what we do brings value, but also that it's well targeted, so that we are segmenting well. So for example, if we want someone to engage in a 7, it may be, they've been subscribing, but they've never bought, and understanding that and why that is, we sometimes send out an incentivized survey, and we just get so much data out of that and knowledge out of that. But you can overdo it. And I think it's really, you can overdo it based on your list size. So there's lots of different ways you can look at it. If you've got a smaller list size, you're going to overdo it much quicker than if you've got a larger list, and you can segment it in a more kind of thoughtful way. So you do have to play it cautiously, and not kind of go, we've got this great thing that we're now working with, let's do it all the time. You can't do that.
And presumably it can lead to a pretty messy database on the back end if you're not thinking through what you're doing in terms of, 1 week it's what sort of child is you and here's 3 options, and the next, a month later it's another what sort of child is yours, and you end up with 2 columns. They're both what sort of child is yours, and you end up with duplicate data and all the rest of it. So is there a level of kind of like just sense checking that you're not duplicating activity and that you're keeping the database vaguely tidy on the back end.
Yeah, I think, again, it comes back to that kind of thoughtful and considered approach and making sure that you're ultimately, even if it's like an idea that you think, oh, this is a cool idea, we're going to do it, you have to know the why behind it and what it is that you're trying to achieve from it. And unless you know that and you're very clear on that, then you can get into a real mess and be just kind of doing it for the sake of doing it. And it's about, looking at what data you have and where are the gaps and how can we fill those gaps and what's the opportunity to learn more here, or, and sometimes it may be that we're struggling with something or struggling with a connection, and we can look to kind of bring in some insights from our customers to help us understand that in a better way.
And is it always the subtle gamification of the what sort of child have you got? Or is it ever more the very obvious, we'd love your opinion on this, which of these two do you think is better type scenario? Is it kind of like subtle click activity, or is there, we need your opinion, click on one of these type things?
I don't think we've done it in quite that blatant way, but I think that would work. I definitely do think that would work. Some of the things that we've done with our, we've got a breastfeeding clothing brand that we work with, and we have been kind of more direct in some of the questions that we've asked on that side of things. But I wouldn't say it was subtle though. I mean, like it's clear that you're playing, you're part of this, and so yeah.
I suppose there's subtle and then there's deceptive, isn't there? And we're definitely not straying into deceptive here.
No, definitely not.
And you mentioned about how you're using this cross-channel, so taking lessons from this into other channels. And you also mentioned how there's always a why behind it. So if the ads team come over and go, we can't make these ads work, can you give us any help? Would you literally take their hooks and A/B test them across the email database, or is it more of a, hello ads people, we've discovered this new thing which might be useful for you? So is it kind of like a two-way conversation, or a here's some interesting data conversation?
It's always two-way. So we always kind of communicate, because it's just really important from the point of view of the way that we market our clients, in making sure that everything is joined up. Coming to us because we are having those conversations, and we are making sure that everything's really joined up, and that email's not working over here doing this, and Meta's not kind of off on their own kind of tangent doing something else. So it's really important that we make sure everything's really joined up. But yeah, there is an element of we might have a problem with hooks just not landing on Meta, and we'll dig into some of the Klaviyo data to see, okay, right, well, these hooks actually worked really well for us. Maybe we can kind of explore that a bit further and work together on that.
I suppose once you're starting to build up this data and being more mindful with what you're doing with your email, then it becomes a big old resource of data. So it's not necessarily, we need to test that. We can slot that in 2 weeks' time. It could be let's look back at what we've done and see the lessons there are from that. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think also by doing things, so one of the things that we quite often hear from kind of new business leads is, they hate email because they hate coming up with the ideas, and they hate, it just feels like, whereas things like this actually make it easier in a lot of ways to come up with content and to bring more in. And then that kind of, you'll find that then breeds something else that then helps build on to something else. And it's just kind of, it helps things to evolve a lot more.
Yeah, that's forever been a challenge, hasn't it? Oh my God, what are we going to put on the promo calendar? I think it's about 30% of the reason why there's so many discounts.
Yes, absolutely.
I've got to say something next week. I'll sod it. We'll take 10% off something.
Yeah, free shipping, everyone.
Yeah. Oh God, brain fog, white paper nightmare. What are we going to do? We'll put this down. Presumably, though, let's flip it over from discounts. If we're if we're doing this engagement with the customer, which by its very nature makes them feel more loyal and enables us to create content that then drives loyalty further down the track, presumably all of this builds greater profitability and will help a business that's trying to do less discounting, that's trying to improve margins, to do just that. Is that a primary goal of this, at the P&L level?
Yeah, I think that, I often thinking back to kind of brands that are constantly discounting and you kind of waiting around for a discount, and that's why you're loyal to that brand, isn't because you believe in that brand, but because you're part of that brand's community. It's because you're just hanging around for a discount. I think that then obviously then really hits your profitability. So actually building this kind of deeper understanding of your customer, of your audience, and being able to personalize your approach at a much more considered level does then, it helps with customer stickiness. So you get you increase your lifetime value. You've spent all this money potentially to acquire a customer at meta level. So keeping them sticky and keeping them around and ensuring that they feel like you really get them and you know why they're there and you're kind of tailoring things to them will definitely support that profitability.
Excellent. There you go, everybody. Definitely a way to help you improve profitability of your activity. But I mean, kind of obviously, really, more content generally leads to greater profitability. Anna, thank you so much for letting us pick your brains about building loyalty via our email marketing. Listeners, remember to stay tuned right to the end so you don't miss out on Anna's insider tips on email and SMS and my suggestions for other free resources to help you improve things even further in your business. Okay, Anna, so far we've gone deep into building loyalty. Now you get to wow us with your insider knowledge about the whole world of email and SMS. So for the following questions, your answer can be anything to do with email and SMS, which of course does include all those things we've already been talking about. So Anna, are you ready for the insider tips?
I'm ready.
Excellent. Okay, let's start with newbie advice. If we've inspired someone to take their first step, what do they need to know to give themselves the best chance of success?
I think it stems back to understanding that someone, when they're parting with an email address, is actually parting with some personal information, and making sure that you use that opportunity on a pop-up form or wherever that might be to gather just a little bit more information from that customer to enable you to tailor that process for them. So whether it's just an additional question about, why they're buying or who they're buying for, something like that, so that you can tailor that process. Just small steps make a big difference.
And would you do that on the same page? So it's email address, extra piece of information, or would you do email address, next screen, something else? Or does it not matter?
My answer is always test it. Always test it. Don't assume you know the answer to that one. But most of our clients, we're utilizing it on the second page, because ultimately what you want is that email address. You do need that email address. And so you don't want to deter people by giving them loads of questions to answer in one go. I can't be bothered. So capture the email address and then go a bit deeper.
Got you. But yes, everybody, test it. Of course, test it. Talking of testing, once you've started, of course, you've got to keep optimizing. So what's your favorite way to improve performance?
Yeah, I'd really urge people to have a look at kind of including some kind of survey into their email campaign. So, you can start like once a quarter, once every 6 months, something that is potentially incentivized just to get some deeper understanding. It's great time now as well, ahead of Q4, to start gathering that extra data. And then you can kind of build those foundations as you enter Q4 and put yourselves in a much more competitive position with more customer loyalty, more understanding of your customers, so that when you go out and you're facing the competitiveness and craziness of Q4, you've got some kind of added value in your back pocket.
And this is proper qualitative survey. Click this link, give us some information, number of questions, and qual, rather than a quick click on this in the email. We're talking proper surveys here.
Proper surveys, yeah.
Very nice. Always good to do, especially those big qualitative.
Yeah.
But yeah, right way around. Qualitative answers.
Yeah.
Very cool. If someone listening even wants to learn more, is there a cheap or free resource you would recommend?
Yes. So, I mean, I don't think you can fault Klaviyo and their resources that they have on their platform. I think they do it phenomenally well. If people want to get some kind of insight or understanding into what we do from like a basic levels SOP for email auditing, then we're more than happy to share our SOP with listeners. So if you want to either DM me on Anna Frapwell on LinkedIn, or DM Neon Digital Clicks on Instagram or on LinkedIn and say SOP, email SOP, then we'll send that over to you. We're going to share that with listeners so you can see how we audit things.
Very nice. Anyone who's stuck on what to do, what do I do next with my email? That sounds like gold dust. So
yeah, it's just let you know what's missing, what you can, where to start, because sometimes you just don't even know where to start.
Oh, so true. So go and get those DMs out. Email SOP is all you need to send and you'll get the goodies, everybody. Okay. Got distracted by the awesomeness of that giveaway. Okay. Finally, it's crystal ball time. What's coming up in the next 6 to 12 months that we should be getting ready for?
So I think it goes back to what we said about keep optimizing, really. And I think that brands that really, truly understand their customers on a deeper level are going to be the ones that win later in the year as we enter those more competitive periods. Definitely.
It feels like that is what's going to help us get through the noise of the huge amounts of competition that now exist on all the marketing channels. And it does, with some of the AI SEO stories that come at the moment, it does rather suggest it's also what's going to get you through the vast mass of AI activity that's going on as well.
Yeah.
The human connection stuff that the AI can't do.
Yeah.
We go even more old school again.
Well, do you know, and that's what it is. It's kind of like marketing gone kind of 180. We're doing a U-turn. We're going back where we were. But, that's never really gone away. I think we're really, really spoiled for a period of time. And actually,
very lazy. Yeah.
So spoiled, so lazy. That it just became so much easier. And actually now we've got to go back to our roots.
Got to do it properly again.
Yeah.
So, Anna, for anyone who wants to do it properly again, but wants your help, loving that segue there. That was like the smoothest segue I think I've ever done. And then I revealed it, thus destroying its smoothness. But anyway, and if anyone who wants your help to do things properly again, how do they get in contact with you and Neon Digital Clicks, please?
Yes, so you can get hold of us on all social media channels, but also we're offering a free audit and we've created a special URL for Keep Optimizing listeners. So if you head over to keepscaling.me, there's one of our case studies from one of our lovely clients on there and an opportunity to apply for a free audit with us.
I mean, like sometimes people do branded landing pages, but a fully pseudo-branded URL. I mean, wow, guys, you've got
good at this marketing stuff.
You've got to go and check that out, everyone, because that is some serious effort put in to make you all happy. So keepscaling.me to access that case study, and don't have to do your own audit. You can apply for a free audit done by Anna and her team. So what's not to love there? So keepscaling.me, everybody. Anna, it's been a real treat getting to chat with another proper marketer. So thank you so much for being on the podcast and for sharing so much with us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been lovely to chat.
What a treat to get to catch up with Anna and learn from her there. She makes building the loyalty elements, that gamification whereby you get the zero-party data and you get the extra insights, you get that closer connection to the customer, that also then builds that closer connection to the customer because they enjoy the interaction with your email activity. She makes that all seem so straightforward and so achievable It's literally a case of thinking through what you want to know about your customers and asking them, then using that data to improve what you send them. Really enjoyed her talking through so many different little examples and different tips and tricks. You can get the links to all those things we discussed, the full transcript even of the episode, important notes and more at keepoptimizing.com, where we've added links to both or instructions on how to get the email SOP so you can do your own audit, and that link to go and request your free audit too. Those are all there. You can go straight to the correct page on our website by putting in keepopt.com / the number of this episode into your URL bar. That will take you right to the correct page on the website. When you get yourself there, why not add yourself to our email list so you don't miss out on any of the things we share to help you improve your business? Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Keep Optimizing podcast. If you've enjoyed this one, well, I reckon you'll like episode 247, where I'm chatting all things CRM with Nikki Lomax, because I think it will really help you build on what you've learned in this episode, because they're both about getting more data from your customers and using that data in powerful ways to improve your business. If you want more email content, specifically email content, then either scroll a little bit further up your feed, or you can use the short link keepopt.com / email to find a web page where we've listed out all our episodes about email marketing. There's loads there for you to dive into, and it being email, they're very much evergreen. So go back as far as you like with those ones. Please do tell your fellow marketers about this show as well, because I create it to help as many of you as possible to improve the performance of their e-commerce marketing. So the more you can spread the word, the more people we can help. Have a great week, and make sure you listen to the next episode so I can help you to keep optimizing your marketing.